All right, it's the end of the session. I'm here without Adelaide. Adelaide is over there because she wants me to throw that. This is Adelaide's roadmap to success. Now, Adelaide is a great dog. Really what we're called in here is Adelaide has started showing some signs of being fearful around the dad of the family. And so I think, and all this stuff seemed to happen right after the new baby came. Now, when mothers are pregnant, they're going through body chemistry changes, hormones. There's a lot of different stuff, things that are going on. And some dogs are very perceptive of that, and some dogs are more sensitive than others. I think Adelaide is kind of a sensitive dog, and I think that she has been concerned about protecting mom. The changes, I think, stressed her out. And even just moving furniture will stress a dog out a little bit. So we add a new baby. It's the first time baby for dad. It's during coronavirus time. There's a lot of stuff going on. This is a classic example of something we call trigger stacking, where a whole bunch of things kind of combine together that cause the dog to be distressed. And so the dad and the mom have changed their lifestyle a little bit. It has gotten better because the baby is almost a year old. They've gotten into more of a routine. But they did recognize that Adelaide's kind of shuts down. We saw a couple of illustrations of it when we were out here. So remember the signs that you want to look for. I talked about them a little bit in the video above. So if you see her ears flip back and the tail cowers, and then that's when she does the shutdown thing. Yes, I know you want me to play fetch, but I'm doing a video right now. And so if you're going to give me the deal, all right, give it to me. Drop. So if we can recognize the precursors, so if her ears flap back and her tail ducks, and then she lowers her head and starts licking her lips, and then she does the cowering thing, well, the signs that lead up to that are what we need to look for. So if we see her flatten her ears, we immediately try to redirect her by playing a game of fetch, or go get it, or we leave the room, get her moving around. Dad said he tried to throw treats, but she wouldn't take treats. That's a good illustration of cortisol in her blood. Now, I don't know what type of treats the dad was using. These are chicken liver treats. These have a very strong smell, and the smell is the most important thing when it comes to dogs, when it comes to food. So what I would do is throw the treat behind the dog, away from the dog, and away from the human. And if that doesn't work, maybe getting another human to come in and throwing those treats might help. But I don't think that's the case. I think it's probably more of the cortisol. So another thing to do would be, when she is not stressed out or giving any signals, grab some treats and make a game of this. So have her sit and then say, throw the treat over there. And she runs and gets it, and come up with a word. And so remember, the word should precede the action. So maybe we want to say the words parkour. So I throw the treat over there, and she runs over, and she's one step away to get it. I say parkour, and then she licks up the treat. She comes back, I throw another one this way. So I make it kind of a game and get her used to doing this, kind of throwing the treats around the room. So then when she is in the shutdown mode, if you redo the game and you say the word, it might help her. If she really likes it, she might kind of snap out of it and then see it as a good positive thing. Before I forget, Adelaide she looks just like my dog California. And California also, like Adelaide, is not very fleet of foot. She's very fast, but she is very clumsy. And so we have a young baby in the house, and occasionally Adelaide gets really excited and might bump into the baby. So one of the little games I'd like you to do is teach her to move away from the baby. And it's a really easy way to accomplish this. So if the baby's here, I show Adelaide I have a treat, and I throw a treat there, and she runs away that way, and she's maybe 1 foot away from the treat. I say, flee. And then she licks up the treat. Then as she comes back to me, I throw a treat this way away from, and so the baby's right here, and I'm practicing throwing the treat in all different directions away from the dog, away from the baby. And every time she does, she hears the command word flee right before she gets the treat. So eventually we could get her to move away from the baby. So that's stage one of doing this. So throwing the treats to kind of get the behavior. We're throwing the treat to lure to get her to do that. After we do that a little while, then what I'd like to do is just sit here with the baby. And then every time that Adelaide eventually is going to get up and move away, when she moves up like 5 feet away, we'd say, flee. And then somebody could give her a treat, or we could throw a treat to her. So at first we're throwing the treats to motivate her to move away. But after a while, when she moves away on her own, then we give her a treat after the fact. And we say the word flee when she gets to the place, and then we throw the treat. So this way the dog is motivated to want to move away from the baby. And so if you see the baby's kind of doing something, the dog's kind of walking and not paying attention to the baby, and they might collide, you say flee, and the dog's like, oh, and then you're pointing in whatever direction. Try to have your face and your feet pointing in whatever direction you're pointing at. Dogs typically look at our face and our feet, what direction they're pointing for direction. Okay, so The video above covered the stuff with Dad, so I'm not going to cover that. But I would like Dad, the one thing I did talk about there that I'd like Dad to do is to go to YouTube, find some positive dog training, make sure they're positive. So that means there's no punishment. There can be small forms of punishment we wouldn't really consider punishment that are. So I would just search for force-free dog training tips or punishment-free dog training on YouTube. And you probably can find a couple of tricks. And so if you can teach her to do a circle, to sit pretty, to roll over, bang, you're dead, get me a beer from the fridge, or whatever it is. And we teach her how to do these things, and Dad is the one teaching her. Dad is going to be the one associated with her as getting this new skill set, which is going to make him feel, the dog feel a little bit better about herself in general, but also have a more positive association with Dad. She loves Dad. It's just when the baby came, and I think that the changes and all that stuff is going to probably take care of it, but also recognizing her. Remember, if you reach towards her, she turns her head away, stop trying to reach for her. The more that she feels like she has the ability and control of the situation, the more confident she's going to be. We also talked about exercise, and I think that's a huge contributing factor for her. Right now she gets about 15 to 20 or 25 minutes worth of exercise a day, as long as there's nothing, no rain or snow or whatever. Adelaide needs at least an hour's worth of exercise a day. If you want to teach her to dog ski, let me know. I'm happy to bring my rollerblades by, and I can show you how to do that, or I can bring Quest by and you can show you out with him. But also playing fetch, playing the Doggy Stairmaster. Now for both of those games, really anything the dog's really running, we want to make sure it's with an empty stomach. And so basically the first time you play fetch, come out here in the morning and play fetch. And your stairs are great because she has to go up and down the stairs. It makes a more efficient workout. So play fetch and count each fetch and find out what the maximum number of fetches is. And then we want to exercise her 50 to 75% of that number. Doggy Stairmaster, at the top of the stairs, when you're inside, show her you have the treat, throw it to the bottom stairs. When she runs the bottom stairs, when she's right about to lick it up, say, Colorado. And then she licks it up. And then you show her you have another treat. She runs the top of the stairs. Maybe you call this one, Santa Fe or whatever you want to say. And then give her the treat. And so we have to create a command word to go down the stairs, a command word to go up the stairs. And 5 minutes of throwing treats up and down the stairs is equivalent to like a half an hour walk. But we can do it inside during a snowstorm. Mom can do it with the baby. It's really easy to do it. We don't have to participate in that exercise, and it's a nice way to get her some stimulation. I'd also like the Guardians to Google scent games. There's a lot of different variants of that. It's really hiding treats around the house or in different places. That's a great way to exercise her. I'd like the parents to get a snuffle mat, an Omega Paw treat ball, and 3 other treat dispensing toys or puzzles. And so mental stimulation is pretty much almost as important as physical stimulation. So if we can figure out how to do that, that way she can really, if she gets, verklempt or she's really worked up, we pull out the Omega Paw treat ball, stuff it with food, and she's nudging that sucker around the room, or one of the games. And so that gives her something to do. It preoccupies her. It also burns some energy, and it's going to help take her off of focusing on the baby or whatever the case may be. Let me see, while I'm on the subject, she really needs more toys. So I would recommend you get a couple antlers. They're more expensive, but they'll last a long time. Get a water buffalo horn. Make sure it's fairly solid. If she's chewing on it, splintering, the wall is too narrow. You gotta get a thick one. Both of those things will be expensive, but they will last a long, long time. I'd also like you to get a couple of Nylabones of different shapes and flavors. They come in bacon and barbecue. I have one that's like a forearm. I have one that's like a Tyrannosaurus. I have one that's like a geometric shape. There's all sorts of different shapes and sizes. So get about 4 or 5 of those. I would also remember when it comes to Kongs, black is stronger than red. So I get her some black Kongs and Kong toys. I would get her some edibles. Cow kneecaps are one of my dog's favorites. A bag of bully sticks would also be good things those are things you can chew on and ingest. And so I'd like you to get probably 7 or 8 toys and about 5 or 6 treat dispensing toys or puzzles. And remember, don't give them all at once, and the toys should come from Dad. We want to build in as many positive associations with Dad as possible. And then after all the, when you only have 2 new toys left, and give 1 a week maybe, maybe 1 every couple days. And then basically when you have 1 or 2 new ones left, then take the oldest one out of the rotation, put it in a box in the cupboard somewhere, and then give her a new one. And then next time you give a new toy, take the second oldest one, put it in the box. So the first one's in the box here, the next one's in the box here, and eventually you have a whole stack of them. Then you grab the one from the back of the box and put it back in rotation, and grab another one, put it there. So you got your toys that are kind of disappearing for a little while, coming back. That makes it a little bit more stimulating. Dogs need a lot of stimulation. And also when they're stressed, they like to chew on things. So I would avoid like stuffy toys and stuff with squeakers, because you already know that she's just going to destroy them. But coming up with these treat dispensing toys and games are great ways for her to redirect herself. You might also get a Go Dog Go. That's the best one I found for outdoor. It's go-dog-go, I believe, .com. And so it's a black machine with the green bucket that's the green bucket's about the same color as your fly swatter. And so you search for it. If you can't find it, message me. I'm gonna let you know. So what I do is I make the dog come over to me and I'm holding the treat over the bucket. If the dog drops it in the bucket, then you would say, right when they were about to drop it, as soon as they open their mouth, pop the treat in their mouth, or as soon as they open their mouth, say the word that means to play fetch. Call it Olympics or whatever you want to say. So she brings the ball over, you're holding a treat over the bucket. She comes over and she's about to open her mouth, and you say Olympics. She drops the ball, and then you put the treat in her mouth, and then the machine will take over and spit it that way. And it'll be spit it pretty consistently. So she runs down there. There's some steps. We're on an up elevated deck. So put it over there where in the corner. She launches it, goes down and fetches, comes back. She can play fetch with herself. And I think that's really going to be beneficial. Also remember, for exercise, I want you to be proactive. I don't want you to wait. I want you to vary around all the different amounts of exercise. And also remember, instead of being naughty, probably need some more exercise. If she's pestering you, probably need some exercise. And also I'd like you to, if you know there's certain things that are, when the baby gets up at a certain time of the day is crying, and it's always the same time, well, I'd like to get her some exercise ahead of time. Be proactive about the exercise. Don't be reactive and wait for her to need it. I'd like her to get exercise. I think that Adelaide needs probably about, I'd say about 4 to 6 exercise things a day, if not more. And if she's really, there's a lot of stressful things on, we give her more exercise than that. But if we come up with a routine, maybe we get up in the morning, we do the Doggy Stairmaster or a game of fetch. Then we feed her with a snuffle mat. That's almost like burning, it's almost like a walk, eating from the snuffle mat. She's probably going to need to take a nap. I know I just woke up. It's only been a half an hour, but I already been up and I've fetched 40 times. I've eaten my food out of the snuffle mat. I need a break. So she lays down and takes a bit of a nap. And when she wakes up, maybe we let her outside, do her thing, and then we do some scent games. And then about 2 hours later, maybe we play another game of fetch. Another couple hours, we give her a treat dispensing toy. Another couple hours, we take her for a walk, and on the walk, we let her sniff as much as she wants to. And then we do maybe a fetch again, or a scent game, and another snuffle mat for dinner, and maybe after that, a little treat going up and down the stairs, Doggy Stairmaster. That's probably going to take you less than a half an hour, but you're doing these really more efficient forms of exercise multiple times a day. So she's whining because she wants me to throw the ball. And now remember, if she whines and I pick up the ball and throw it, then that's conditioning her to whine to ask me for that. It's the opposite of what I'm looking for. So I'm going to say up, sit, up, up. Remember, don't repeat the command. So I'm trying to entice her by kind of wiggling it a little bit. Now this is a little bit of confusing for her because I wanted her to lay down. So I was waiting, as soon as she laid down, I threw it. Sit. So if she's whining or whimpering like that, instead of petting her, giving her that tension, redirect her and doing something else. When she does it, have her do one other thing, and then you can throw the ball for it. So you kind of take her away from that. The whimpering didn't get it, but sitting got me to do it. Laying down got me to do it. Dropping it got me to do it. We talked about in the living room right now because the baby is young, but the baby is going to start moving around. And I think that stresses her out at times. So we talked about kind of moving the couch away from the wall a little bit and creating a little bit of a labyrinth. We always want the dog to have a place that I can go to, and especially in this place, Laura actually corrected me a little bit, and I'm glad that she did. I usually suggest that if the dog goes to the dog bed, the kids are not allowed to interact with her. But because she has this problem with dad occasionally, we would want her to have, if I'm uncomfortable, I go to the dog bed, and nobody messes with me. So if we want to engage with her, we call her off of the dog bed. If she comes to us, that's a pretty good way of her indicating I'm comfortable. If she won't come, that's one of her ways of saying I am not comfortable. It's cold out. I'm actually using you to warm up my hand right now. And so this way, she has a safe place. I go to this place anytime I'm uncomfortable and sit down. And as soon as I go there, then I'm safe. And dogs, remember, they have that fight or flight response. So when you do it, just kind of have a couple bends and get a board or something like that is too big for the baby to crawl over, but that she can easily jump over to start the little labyrinth trail. And then the way to get her to go there is one person be on the beginning of it, and I wouldn't have the board there at first, and one person is like in the middle of the labyrinth, and the person in the middle of the labyrinth calls her, and she comes, and they drop a treat. And then when she gets there, you throw the treat to the end of the labyrinth. And then when she gets over there, then the person in the middle calls her. She comes again, you drop treat in the middle, and then the end. Eventually, you skip the person in the middle, and you just have people on either ends, and you call her back and forth. And every time she goes in there, I would drop the treat in and call it sanctuary or whatever you want to call it. So right before she gets the treat, when she goes to the place in the dining room, essentially, away from the living room, away from the area, we say sanctuary a second before she puts the treat in her mouth and where she gets to the location. So eventually, if you see that the baby starts crawling towards her and she's kind of looking uncomfortable, we say sanctuary, she gets up and runs away. Now, one thing about dogs, and this did not come up, but I wanted to mention this. We never, ever, ever want to punish a dog for growling. A growl is the antithesis of aggression. The dog is communicating, I am uncomfortable. If you punish a dog for growling, they will stop growling and giving a warning, and they will go straight to a bite, and you do not want that. So if your dog growls, I want you to think the dog is uncomfortable. Let's throw the treats or tell it to go to sanctuary or find some way to increase distance between the dog and whatever it's reacting to. The more that she's able to move away from herself, the more confident she'll be. She won't be as stressful, and then she just eventually just move away when she doesn't like things. That's wonderful. That's what we like. We also talked about rules and structure. So for rules, we talked about premax. Premax are when a less desirable behavior earns me a more desirable behavior. If I'm a kid and I do my chores, I can go play with my friends. I don't want to do my chores, but I do that less desirable behavior that earns me the right to go play with my friends. So for her, you can do a premax by making her sit before you pick up the ball to throw it, or making her lay down before you pick up the ball to throw it. Sit at the door. So tell her to go to the door. Tell her to sit one time. And if she doesn't sit within 2 seconds, sit down nearby and read a magazine, look at your phone, do something else. After 1 minute, go back to the door, command her to sit. If she doesn't sit this time, I'll walk away for 2 minutes sitting, make sure you're sitting down. Next time I walk away for 4 minutes, then for 8 minutes. I keep double the length of time. But as soon as she sits, boom, I throw that and let her go. And so, or open the door, whatever it is. And so this way the dog says, if I want to go outside, I sit at the door as if I was saying, please, can I go outside? Right now, she probably paws at the door. And what happens? We go open the door. Remember, anything the dog does and we do something after it, we're training the dog. So the dog paws the door, and then I go open the door and let it go out. Well, that's how I ask to go outside, is I paw at the door. We don't really like that. That's why we let him out. So instead, beat him to the punch. Teach him to sit at the door by using this exercise. You can also do premax when you're preparing food. You can use premax putting a leash on, opening the door. You're doing a premax, essentially. The guardians are on walks now, making her sit between before they go in the street, which is awesome. Now, we have a couple cats in the house, and the cats want to escape, and the water bowl is right by the back door. So Laura's suggestion would be to relocate the water bowl somewhere else, so that way it's not congregating near the access point. Also, you might want to relocate the dog bed and the kennel. Instead of having it here, I would probably put it in the sanctuary at the end of the table. And so that way it's all in one place. If the cats want to go in the dog bed, it's not right by the door. We also talked about rules such as not letting the dog in the kitchen when we're preparing food, or not being around anybody who's eating. So to get her to go out of the kitchen, what I would do is I would go, before I start cooking, show her that I have a treat, throw it out of the kitchen. When she runs out, when she's one step away from licking it up, I say the word out, she licks it up. When she comes back, I throw it again. Do that about 10 times in a row. And then what I would do is, at that point, she's probably going to be staying outside. We're using the treat to motivate her to want to go out. Then what I would do is I would take one step in the kitchen, and then I would throw the treat. And then I would, you could do this either way, but I would probably go to the doorway she's at. I take one step in the kitchen, go back and give her a treat. Take 2 steps in the kitchen, go back and give her a treat, provided she stays in behind the line, outside the kitchen. If she goes she starts to come in, don't wait for her to get all the way in. If she does, you can do this, but really what I like to do is she's sitting there. As soon as she lifts up one of her paws and she's lifting her paw to go like this to come in, as soon as that paw comes up, then I throw the treat behind. That's why I'm not actually doing this when I'm cooking a meal, because I'm not going to be paying attention when I'm cooking the meal. So what I do is I pretend like I'm cooking. I'm grabbing the ingredients, I'm grabbing the pots and pans, but I'm watching the dog out of the corner of my eye. As soon as her paw comes up off the ground, I know she's going to come in. I throw the treat behind her. So she turns and runs away instead of trying to come in the kitchen. And after a while, if you do this enough, the dog will just stay outside the kitchen, because that's where I get the treats. They never drops the treats in the kitchen. The treats are always outside. Make sure you don't feed her any food that you're preparing, because that's going to condition her to come inside. We want her to go outside. Let me see. Also, don't let her be around you guys when you're eating food. And there's probably other rules that you can incorporate. Remember, the more rules you can provide, the more that she sees you acting like a leader, and the more comfortable and relaxed she's going to be. If some correction is required, remember, dogs don't learn through punishment, but if something has to be done, I would prefer to have the mom or our teenage daughter doing those sort of things as opposed to dad, because we just want to remove anything from the equation that might cause a little bit of anxiety or stress for the dog. And I think that all these changes and stuff we go over, plus the changes in the household, I think these problems should be in your rearview mirror pretty quickly if you keep up on this stuff. But if dad is, getting frustrated or yelling, even if he's not yelling at the dog, she's sensitive. She's going to interpret that, and it's going to get confusing. So, and whenever dad's stressed, he should leave the area, even if he has nothing to do with the dog. But if he's frustrated about something, he needs to go outside, go somewhere away from the dog, because she's going to pick up on that. We also talked about structure in terms of petting with a purpose and passive training. Petting with a purpose is petting your dog for a reason. If you want to pet the dog, or the dog wants you to pet it, if it nudges you, paws at you, barks at you, leans at you, whatever it is, it's telling you what to do. Instead, of doing what it wants, give it a counter order, tell it to sit. If it sits, pet it under his chin, and pet it as much or as little as you want. Now, as soon as you stop petting it, sits again, and sits again, and sits again. Take it outside, get it some exercise. So if the dog comes up and nudges me, now nothing happens other than I tell it to do something else. If it does what I ask, it gets a reward. If it does anything else, nothing happens. After a while, the dog will start sitting to prepay for that attention. When it does, make sure you do pet her under her chin or under chest or shoulders, wherever it is. Just don't pet on top of the head. Remember to use the watchword of paycheck. If you suspect someone's petting without a purpose, I'm petting the dog and somebody says paycheck, that means I think you might have forgotten to pet with a purpose. So I would stop petting even if I did it right. Tell her to sit. When she sits, I pet her under her chin, and I would tell the person, actually I asked her to sit, and you missed it when you opened the door. She stood up, and I continued petting, but thanks for reminding me. I do forget to pet without a purpose. After a while, you'll get in the habit of doing it. The dog's prepaying for a sit. You're petting for sits. Instead of the dog pawing at you, nudging you, that's what the dog's going to do to ask for attention. Remember, that'll increase their respect for you. It'll boost her confidence. It'll help her practice basic commands, and it makes your pets more valuable. So it's really four important things that happen every time you pet your dog if you get in the habit of petting with a purpose. And it'll take you about a month and a half to 2 months to get in that habit. We also talked about passive training. Passive training is rewarding the dog when it voluntarily offers behaviors that you like. Every time your dog's coming towards you, you didn't ask it to come. When it's one step away, say come, and then pet it. When it's about to sit down, right before the butt hits the ground, sit, and then pet it. When it's about to lay down, drop the ball, drink water, take a poop, eat their food, go to the dog bed, whatever it is. So what it is, you're preceding the action because you can see it coming with the command word. Now, I use the watchword of celebrate for this. So if I'm standing here and she walked up to me and I didn't see it because I was looking over here, somebody says celebrate, I just turn and start petting her immediately. I wouldn't say anything because I've already missed that window, but I would just pet her. The more we pet our dogs for the things we want, the more the dogs will offer us those behaviors as a way of asking for attention, as opposed to nudging us or pawing at us or on any of the rest of these things. Let me see. Now, if you have any questions on any of the things that we've gone over, I want you to let me know. I don't care how long it is after the session. I don't care if you get relocated to Tokyo. Send me a text or a phone call or an email. If I don't hear from you, I assume everything's going great. About once every 3 years, I have a client that calls up or sends me an email, or mad at you. You know what you told us stopped working, and you never corrected it. I can't follow up with every client, so I'm going to put the ball in your court on that. But I am available. If you reach out to me, I will be here for you. I don't care how long after the session. Now, if I have to come out, we charge you obviously for that. But if it's a phone call or text, I have thousands of videos like this one I'm happy to share with you. All right, Adelaide. Got a little bit of a hitch in your giddy up. I'm glad. Thank you for reminding me, sweetheart. So she came over with a little bit of a limp. So we want to watch and see if there's any physical ailments. The guardians right now are taking her in to get her a bath and get her nails trimmed and her teeth brushed once a month. I like everything except for bathing a dog. Most dogs shouldn't be bathed more than once a quarter unless they're dirty or something along those lines. So what I would rather have you do is take her in for her nails and her teeth. And brush her out instead of giving her a bath each time. Just give her a bath maybe once every 3 or 4 months unless she needs it. And get the Vortex thing. Go on Amazon and look for dog paw cleaner. It looks like a tube, and inside it there's a little hourglass shape. It's got a little rubber thing on the end. You put it in, fill it up hot with warm water. You put the dog's paw in there, and you go pull it out, and it sucks most of the dirt off of the dog's paw. And what I would do for that to make sure she likes it is I would do it maybe dry. So hold it, put her paw in there, take it out, and then give her a treat. And if she doesn't like that, then just hold it out and maybe just touch it to her paw and then give her a treat. Touch it to her other paw, give her a treat. After a while, it's like, oh, you touch it to my paw and then I get a treat? I like that. And then eventually, you lift up her paw and just put it in just a little bit, as long as she's not shying or leaning away, and then you follow it with the treat. So after a while, this paw thing, I put my paw in there and I get a treat. I put my paw in there and I get a treat. I like putting my paw in there. And so that way when she comes in, it's not a negative experience. She enjoys doing it, and you don't have muddy paws all over your house. All right, Adelaide, one more time. Come here, sweetheart. Let's let everybody see who you are. Let's turn you around. This is Adelaide. Well, they can't see you when you do this. Sit. Well, this is Adelaide, and this is a beautiful girl. And this is Adelaide's roadmap to success. Remember, everything you do trains your dog. Only sometimes you mean it.